Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here at Dogma. Today I am here with Mallory, Patty's mom. She's one of our pack members and she does this really awesome group called Pack Walk. So we're going to talk about that today. Welcome, Mallory. Why don't you give us a little introduction to yourself and your dog?
Thank you. Thank you. Like you said, my name is Mallory, and my dog Patty and I live in New Jersey. We live near Rutgers University in New Brunswick, and he's about 7 years old. And yeah, that's us and where we're at.
How did you come to adopt Patty?
So when I was in undergrad at Rutgers, Rutgers is partnered with the Seeing Eye. The Seeing Eye is the oldest guide dog school in America. And at Rutgers, they have a chapter of their volunteer puppy raising program. The program places 7-week-old puppies with a volunteer raiser that basically just teaches them basic obedience, how to walk on leash, specifically pull on leash, so that one day when they're guiding, they're ahead of their person, and how to act in public. So after a couple years of being involved and learning how to puppy sit, I signed up to be a raiser. I applied, I was accepted, and I got a 7-week-old baby German Shepherd puppy who was Patty. So he came with his name, and he and I were together at school. He came to class with me. He went on road trips with me. He did everything. And then when he went back to the Seeing Eye, he was ready to go to puppy college, is what they call it, to learn how to be a guide dog. And he was there for 6 weeks, was medically cleared, but ultimately released from the program. So he did not make it as a guide dog. He had a lot of suspicious behavior. So he would alert bark at different people or dogs. And they ultimately decided he wasn't a good fit to guide. So I happily adopted him back. They, did a couple little minor medical things for him, for me, and he came home. So he was about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half when I fully adopted him as a pet. So he entered the pet life and did a lot more couch surfing.
Yeah. Now, you might not know the word, but I think there's like a funny word that they use when like dogs don't quite make it into the program. It's like re-jobbed, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, for the Seeing Eye, they call them career changes.
Career
So
changes, that's what it is.
yes, yeah. So they had a job and then they career changed out. Patty's brother actually career changed into being a bomb sniffing dog in
Wow.
Newark Airport. Yeah, he had very high work drive. So they placed him in a different line of work. A couple of his siblings went out to guide, and then one of his siblings bred. So after he had a bunch of babies, he was career changed into being a therapy dog. So Patty and a couple of his other siblings career changed into being a pet and
Oh,
being emotional support animals in general for their humans.
oh,
But
that's
um,
awesome. While you're in school, how did you learn how to raise a puppy? I guess is my question.
so for the Seeing Eye, they have different basically guidelines that you have to learn about in different clubs. And each club kind of sets their own standard and their own requirements. The college campuses, as you can imagine, have a little bit more requirements to be met. You are on a college campus, you are a college student. So not only does that like socially mean something different, but also academically. So at Rutgers, I puppy sat. So you have to take a quiz, you have to learn the specific handling that the Seeing Eye uses. And at our group, all of the older club members taught the newer club members. So it took me about like 2 years to kind of have the club say, okay, like, I think you're ready, which is about standard at the college level, just because, you want to make sure you're responsible, mostly is what it is. And then that you can abide by the Seeing Eye and their rules and what they put forth. So everything comes from the Seeing Eye. They give a puppy manual. And then at the college campuses, they teach you all that. And you kind of have to work up to getting an application. It's a little bit different in the other groups. Other groups are based on the county, usually associated with like 4-H groups. And for those, it's more like families that are raising and individuals that they go to a couple meetings, learn about the Seeing Eye, and then they have an opportunity to apply. So it's a little bit quicker when you're not a college student.
Yeah, and I guess that totally makes sense. Now, before we jump into pack walks, I meant to do this at the top, but can you tell us where we can find you and follow you at?
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is social stuff and a lot of Patty in my stories, but that is mkohler94 on Instagram. And then the pack walks can be found. We have a Facebook group, so it is a private group that requires admission into, but that is NB Pack Walks, or if you're using the URL, it's facebook.com/groups/NB Pack Walks. And then the same on Instagram, NB Pack Walks.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to link those below in case anybody's looking to just connect with you right after this interview. Yeah. So let's start talking about pack walks. Why don't you give everybody an introduction to what that is?
So basically, it's a community group that meets weekly, and we have a safe and structured walk where dogs and their owners can come and just work on socialization or training. We walk about 2 miles. Lasts usually about an hour, depending on when we stop, who has to go to the bathroom, that kind of stuff. And we walk together, usually in a single file line. We give each other a little bit of distance. And it's just a really great way to meet up and in a safe manner, especially in the small city that we are in here in New Brunswick, just get together and walk together and work on certain things.
Oh, that's so cool. So I guess the primary benefits of that for you and your dog, what are those?
Yeah, so it all depends on your dog specifically, but we are kind of an alternative to a dog park for dogs that may not be comfortable going to a dog park or may not be friendly enough or whatever their specific, not so much of an issue, but so much of their personality doesn't fit a dog park environment. But you get a lot of the same benefits. So the dog is still visually stimulated by other dogs. They're still getting that olfactory, so the smells of other dogs around them. And they're also getting the auditory, so different barking or whining, you're still getting all of that. But we do it in a manner where, unless you're comfortable, most people, if they're working on training or reactivity, they do not say hi to the other dogs. They don't allow their dogs to greet, and they just stay at a distance and allow their dog to take it all in a really safe way. So we do that by making sure that everybody that attends is on a short leash. So usually 6 feet or shorter, so that you have that complete control of your dog to your area. And there's no guessing whether or not someone's going to be on an extendable or a long leash to come into your space. That's one way we allow that respect. And then just physically, I think coming out of a pandemic or during a pandemic, we've all learned 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet. And that is kind of what we've adopted as well in this instance, just keeping your distance from the other person that you're near. And yeah, so those are the benefits that way. But it's also a great way if you're physically working on different training to, let's say you have a trainer, you get some homework. If you have a trainer, you're in a training class, every week they say, okay, make sure you work on your homework. And whatever that is, we're a great place to work on that homework, whether it's doing obedience near another dog, working on corrections, if your dog's reacting, if that's the type of training method you're using, or just working on a heel or walking near other dogs. So we're a great place to bring that homework and bring what you've learned from a trainer and practice it in real life, because we all know sometimes doing things in the kitchen for a cookie is so perfect, and then you take them to a park and they forget everything they've ever learned. So it's a really good way to practice those kinds of things in an environment that your dog normally isn't in.
So what kind of requirements do you have to join your pack walk program?
Our number one rule is that it's a judgment-free zone. So whether you're working, whatever tools you're using, whatever training method you're using, as long as you're not outwardly I don't want to use the word abusing, but, you know, outwardly hurting your dog, or like it's not super uncomfortable for everyone in the group. You do what you want to do what works for your dog. And there is no judgment. Like, and that comes from the training and how your dog's behaving, because we are all there for a reason. Our other rule is to keep distance from one another. And we have a rule that states to always bring poop bags. It's like BYOP, bring your own, or BYOB, like bring your own bags, to always clean up after your dog. And I believe those are most of my rules. If I'm forgetting one, I think it's probably just more about distance from one another. But those are the rules. I mean, you don't have to have a good dog, or, you know, all dogs are good dogs, but they don't have to be perfect on leash. They can be working on reactivity. They can be working on being scared. You know, in the aspect of the dog, there are no requirements. It's more for the person.
Gotcha. Yeah. You know how, well, I mean, we feel that same way, right? No bad dogs, just bad owners. Usually.
Right.
So that sounds so nice, because I know I've been hearing a lot more of sort of the struggles that people go through when they have a reactive dog, and like the judgment and the hardship that comes with that. And you know, Benji happens to be very well behaved, but even with us having dogs that look scarier, right? Like Benji's a Rottweiler mix, you have a German Shepherd, and sort of the judgment that can initially come with that. Right. So I think that's great that you guys have made such a supportive and like inclusive environment, you know?
Yeah. And that's one thing that we kind of, on all of our flyers and all of our promo stuff, it's always all breeds are welcome as well. So, you know, we're not excluding anyone because of the type of dog that they have. And that also goes for like small dogs. So we are mostly a group of like large dogs, and people see that and they're like, oh, well, could I bring my Shih Tzu? I'm like, of course you can bring your Shih Tzu, like literally bring all the dogs. So it's nice to be inclusive in that way, because sometimes, whether it's an apartment building or like a dog event, sometimes they do say like, no, you know, XYZ breeds. So
right. So what went into setting all this up? Like, how did you go about that?
So I was very lucky, like I said at the beginning, having been a part of the Seeing Eye program at Rutgers. All of my puppy raising friends I have on different social media. So I just started a Facebook group and put all my friends in the group that I knew had either raised or had a dog, and, you know, just tried it out. See, I did like 3 or 4 groups before I made it like known that I was doing it. So, or 3 or 4 walks, I'm sorry. And, you know, most of my friends were coming. So I was like, all right, I think 1, I can do this. And 2, Patty can handle it enough. And it's an environment. Yes. It's an environment enough that he isn't super, super overwhelmed. So it's like, you know, I think he has I had to make sure that as a team we could handle it. So yeah, then once it went well, I was like, well, how do I do it? I just at first utilized local Facebook groups. So my hometown Facebook group is, you know, about 20 minutes away from where I live currently. I posted it there. I posted it in our, you know, community group here in New Brunswick and a couple of surrounding towns, and just allowed people to join and answered questions when need be. And it just started growing. I eventually got an Instagram. Everything's on Instagram. So that started helping. And then recently I attended a pet expo in our area. So we had a little booth that ended up being sponsored by the expo, because I don't charge anything for the walks. It's all free. People come. I set up the schedule, set up the routes, set up, you know, all the social media, all for free. And so I was like, you know, it's over $300, almost $400 for a nonprofit booth. And I'm like, yeah, that'd come out of my pocket. I'm already paying for the supplies to come. And so they ended up sponsoring us, which was amazing. We were able to go. And yeah, we had like an interactive booth with like a little photo shoot area and places where people could sign up and see pictures and ask questions. And yeah, so we're getting there. We're hopefully collaborating with our town on a couple events within the year that I'm excited about. But that's kind of how we started growing, was all social media.
Yeah, that's the way to do it nowadays. That's how we found
Mhm.
each other. So,
Exactly.
how many members do you have right now, like on average?
So in the Facebook group, we have over 300 people that have joined. And because it's so cold right now, and New Jerseyans do not love the cold. We get about 10 people a week right now. Our largest group, as an individual group, we had like 29 people. And then we did a collaborative walk with another pack walk group that is down at the Jersey Shore. And we had about 30 something people for that. But we're hoping moving into the spring, we'll sit at about 15, 17. Our inspiration walks in Washington, D.C., they get like 25, 30 people a week. So hopefully maybe we could get there one day. But
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are growing nicely. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
of all of this, what's been like the most rewarding thing about setting up these pack walks?
Um, I mean, selfishly, it has been Patty and his kind of transformation. He is 7. It's taken me a very long time, trial and error, to like figure out what works best for him, because he is reactive and he doesn't love other dogs and doesn't love people in his space. And, you know, he has 6 friends and he's happy with those 6 dog friends. But selfishly, it's been how different he is. So on work walks, he'll still bark at the beginning, a little bit. It's come a long way, but it's the individual walk. So when I walk him on my own, he's, you know, a completely different dog. And then the friendships I've made, like a lot of people I've met, we're genuine friends now. So, you know, we talk and catch up every week. And so that has been really great. And just all the, wow, I didn't know this existed, or wow, this is really nice. And so that feels good.
Yeah, totally. Do you have any advice for anyone looking to maybe start something like this in their own town?
Um, I think that the biggest thing I can say is that even if your dog is reactive, you still can do it. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, I'm like so far away. I wish this was in my town, but you know, my dog could never do it." And I'm like, that's the point. It's to invite those dogs that you think could never do it, because they'll surprise you. And over time, it gets so much easier. Um, and other than that, just social media, you know, everyone has a town Facebook group. Everyone has, you know, a local, you know, Facebook marketplace type yard sale group that you can find. And maybe not so much in remote areas. I guess I'm a little lucky because we're so densely populated here. But I would say, yeah, doing just posting and seeing if there's one person in your town or on your block that would be interested in saying, hey, like, you know, could we walk our dogs together? It's a great way to, you know, teach your dog that it's okay to walk around other dogs and it's okay to be calm around other dogs. So that would be the best advice I could give. Like, don't be scared just because your dog may not be the most perfect on leash.
For sure. No, I think that's great advice. Like just you got to try it, right? You got to put
Yeah.
it out there and give it a try. So very cool.
Yeah.
Last question, my favorite question. What is your favorite thing about being a dog mom?
All of it.
It's the best.
Specifically with Patty is just he isn't the most cuddly. It's not abnormal for a German Shepherd, but definitely those times that he knows I need a cuddle, he'll give me a cuddle, and like he'll, you know, won't leave my side. So, you know, that's my favorite part, is just how in tuned he is to like me and my boyfriend, and just like he just knows, and just having that, you know, special connection with an animal that, you know, you give everything to is definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, it's a very unique connection and not everybody gets it, you know? And
Right.
so I think that's awesome. But Mallory, thank you so much for all this great advice. Like, I feel like you talked about so many great things that I'm so excited for everyone to hear. So everybody make sure you give Mallory and Pack Walks a follow. We'll link all their information below. But yeah, thanks again for joining us. I'm sure we'd love to have you back anytime you want to talk about any of these topics further. So
talk
thank
about
you.
dogs forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. This is like my favorite thing about starting this site is I really just wanted to make this page Dogma all about like connecting with and making dog mom friends. Like it's so much fun. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. And we will see you next time.